Welcome to the show known as Conversations with Ralph Walker. The recent passing of the noted poetess Maya Angelou had me wondering, what could I do as a tribute to a great American, someone that brought the power of words to life? And then I thought, I need a co-host. Who could bring that magic? I looked all around. Then the neighboring city in Pasadena, I thought of Betty Jo Ford. How you doing today?
Great, Ralph. Good to see you again.
All right, I'm honored to have you here in the studio with me.
Thank you.
As we pay tribute to Maya.
Great.
But to the viewers out there, tell them a little something about yourself. I know at a young age, at 12 years old, you started writing poetry.
I did. I wrote poetry and plays.
At 12 years old?
At 12 years old.
Now, where'd you grow up at?
Corpus Christi, Texas.
In Texas. When did you make it up to Pasadena?
Pasadena came around 1975, but I was in San Diego before that.
Okay, and how was life like down in San Diego?
Great. I was a musician there.
So you also play the piano?
Yes, that's what I do first, poetry second.
Okay, now what moved you to poetry?
Well, I had a friend that was in a program, and she and I wrote a play together, and then we did poetry. Some kind of way it just evolved, because I took piano at 6.
At 6 years
Uh-huh.
old? You were just banging on the piano, or you playing?
No, I played for 100 Voice Choir at 9 years old.
Wow. So what is your educational background?
I'm a sociology major and a musician.
Oh, because you like people.
Yes, that's right.
People are like music?
People are just wonderful, and they keep you happy, keep you young, and I deal mostly with children.
Okay.
That's why I can act young and seem like I'm young. Maybe I look older, but in my heart, I'm young.
So what is that gratifying effect that you get out of working with young people? Because I know some viewers out there that sort of run away from young people.
Well, I want leaders for the new world. Years from now, I know we need leaders. So I'm raising up leaders for you and me and all the generations to come.
So where did you get this drive from? Who in the family did you emulate or thought
I emulate
inspired
my
you?
mom and my dad.
Okay.
They weren't educated. My dad only had an 8th grade education, but he was very smart, because in the world he was smart, and he trained us to do the best that we could. And my mother would train us to do the best that we could. She said, on a scale of 1 to 10, be a 22.5.
High standards.
And overdo everything. We overdid. All of my sisters and brothers, we overdid everything.
Now, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
It's 5 of us. I'm the oldest. I have 1 brother and 3 sisters.
Okay, so when you made it up here to Pasadena from Texas, what was it like?
Oh, Pasadena is wonderful. It was, I'd come from Los Angeles before that. San Diego, Los Angeles, then Pasadena. We came to Pasadena because the school system in Los Angeles wasn't what we needed for our teenage boy.
Oh, okay.
I had 1 son. So we came to Altadena.
Oh, okay.
Elliott Middle School.
Okay, and what was it like then? What year was that, I should ask?
That was in 76.
Okay, integration and all that, and the busing, was that going on?
No, it was all
It
over.
had passed.
It had passed. I mean, integration was in its level then, but it started around 71 or 72. So we got here in 75, 76.
So you currently still work with young people, right? Do you have an organization or something that involves?
Yes, I'm on a board of Aspires. That's young people. It's a school. After school, every day, and then Saturday school.
Is it crowded, Saturday school?
Not too crowded.
But what draws the young people there?
They need the education that the school is not providing enough for them.
Why is that? Why do you think the educational system in America is, not just in Pasadena or Monrovia, but across the board, there's been a tremendous drop in educational level of even the teachers and the students?
Well, I feel it's not a drop in the educational level. I feel that the kids are coming to school not knowing as much as they did years ago. They were taught at home more. when they get to the school now, they're taught like they're 2 years old. So the teachers have to go back and teach them nursery rhymes. I teach reading to kids who are 9 and 10, never learn to read. I started back with the nursery rhymes, as if they're 2 and 3 years old.
Something that we grew up on.
Yes, that kids have to learn that. Why did Jack fall and why did Jill fall behind him? I ask questions like that. When he fell with the bucket, she was holding it. She came down too. I teach thinking. That's called critical thinking.
Why did it happen?
Why did it happen? What happened to the egg? Humpty Dumpty. Things like that. I take them back to that. That's critical thinking.
Something that's lacking in the world.
That's what's lacking. Critical
Maybe
thinking.
because we're too programmed in the way that we just go for whatever is remote on the system. We just
well, not that. The parents are so busy working, they didn't get to teach the kids and they expect the school and teachers to teach them.
So they didn't pass it down.
Yes, they didn't
because
pass it
of
down.
the economic.
They stopped somewhere.
The jobs.
Yes, the job took up the time.
The job, the microwave, and the TV set.
And the kids are home alone.
Okay, now let's if you just tuned in, this is a special edition of Conversations with Ralph Walker. I'm honored to have here in the studio with me Betty Jo Ford, a noted poetess and someone that's a community activist in a very positive way because she works with young people. When you heard about the passing of Maya Angelou, what was your reaction?
Oh, I knew she was ill, but she had just done some things recently, so I just thought she would carry on. And 6 people called me, and you were the 7th one that called me.
Oh, lucky 7 me, huh? Inviting you to come on and help co-host this show.
They were calling me, telling me about it, and they were so sad. My son was the first one.
Oh, okay.
He's from Palos Verdes. Second one was a friend that I trained her since she was 2 years old. I taught her to be smart. She's 29 now. So I taught her to think and be positive and learn all you can and overdo it.
And overdo it.
If they say sell 10 tickets, you sell 110. That's what my mother taught all of us.
Okay, don't set the bar low. Set the bar high.
Raise the bar high. Okay. That's what I teach now. I have a course that I teach kids that are 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Okay, now what moment do you remember about Maya Angelou that stands out to you? Is there any particular moment?
Yes, I remember the moment when she refused to speak. She was in silence. She went to silence.
Explain that to the viewers out there.
Oh, well, Maya, it's 2 different stories, so I'm not sure which one is correct. But the one that I knew most about my life was that she was raped by a man in the area. And then she wished the man was dead. And I heard that he got hit by a train. Then she was reduced to silence because she thought her mind caused that man to be killed. So that's what I always thought. But then I read recently that her mother's boyfriend raped her.
Yes.
And then she told it, and then
he got jumped on, he got beat to death.
So which story is true, I don't know, but she was reduced to silence.
For 6 years.
And then when she spoke, everything was in her. It all came out. She could recite, she could do poetry, she could read, everything. She kept it all within, so she was great the moment she opened her mouth.
That's quite amazing.
Quite amazing.
When you think about 6 years of silence.
Yes.
For a young child, in that period of time, absorbing, she did a lot of reading.
She did read, but she talked to her brother Bailey. I remember she talked to him. He's the one that caused her to be named Maya. He named her Maya.
Okay.
Her name was Johnson. Her first name before was Marguerite Annie Johnson.
Oh, okay. Okay, a little bit of history on that.
And Southern name.
What would be your lasting memory of her? You know, we have the first intro, and you talked to her about her being silent for 6 years, and then you think of another moment.
The lasting moment, more to now, would be when she was in the Tyler Perry's movies, playing the part of the grandmother in the movie.
Oh, okay.
And she spoke, and I think Oprah was there. Another person was there. I can't think of the name, but I remember seeing she spoke so vividly in this movie, and that's my last remembrance of her. Actually, seeing her on stage, but in person, I hadn't seen her.
All right, now I introduced you as a person that was a poet, so it's about that time to share with you, the viewers out there, Betty Jo Ford, and her moment as a poetess.
Thank you, Ralph. I wrote a poem. I was inspired by Maya, and when she passed, it was so sad to me, but it caused me to write a poem. I called it The Heart of a Renaissance Woman, a tribute to Maya Angelou. Once there was a Renaissance woman of the name of Maya Angelou. Birth name Marguerite Annie Johnson. She stepped out on the planet Earth April 4th, 1928, just 8 years after women gained the right to vote. She introduced to the world the word phenomenal, which took a multitude of bows on the stage of life. She possessed exceptional talent, weaving words in and out, rising, floating, inspirational words, mixed with cool, calming words. A poetic masterpiece. It's majestic, it's stupendous, fitting for a presidential inauguration. Curtains up, appearing on stage, jazzy, sassy, swinging, powerful works, spoken word. Serving up a story, cage bird rising, still rising to the top. Bestseller, again and again. We see hallmark verses. What's in a greeting card? Everything. Words, thoughts, visions, inspirational, glowing, starring word connections. Awards coming. They keep a coming. Curtains, lights, National Media of Arts, National Medal of Arts, Presidential Medal of Freedom, Grammy Awards, Theatrical Awards, commencement addresses, honorary degrees bestowed. An incredible woman. The world loved her, admired her, lauded her. Mentor for Oprah, close friend of Dr. King and Coretta, longtime friend of Nelson Mandela. Long live Madiba. A true survivor. Spoke several languages, including the language of love, wisdom, soul, stirring in calypso, childhood cabaret, black flavor and spices, sprinkling throughout. All this in heaven, too, in a rewarding lifespan of 8 decades and 3 generations. Unforgettable greatness. This 6-foot-tall, regal woman celebrated and packaged herself without modesty, without shame. She did it because she was qualified to do so. An American pioneer, the mind of a philosopher, the beauty and stature of a queen, a passionate heart for the arts, becoming author, poet, singer, dancer, actress, and more. Remarkable woman, born in poverty, yet soared to great heights, uplifting others, displaying timeless talents, stirring the souls of all God's children. She had on her plate more than she could chew, and chewed it with boldness and courage. Miss Angelou had a lifetime appointment as a professor of American Studies at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. Dr. Maya, a phenomenal Renaissance woman who learned what to change, what not to change, giving life and the world her best self. Sister Maya, take your rest by the river, the cool, cool river in the New Jerusalem as dawn breaks. Good morning. Thank you.
Phenomenal woman you are, Betty Ford.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
still Maya rises from the words
Rising.
that you put together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. The
putting
rest
it
of the
together.
show, we're going to introduce some poet and poetess out there
All right.
that's going to bring words to life. I thank you
Great.
again, my
Enjoy it.
phenomenal woman.
Thank you very much, Ralph. Glad to be here.
Good afternoon. We are the Speak Poets of Doherty High School. My name is Angel Becerra.
My name is Samantha Plaza.
My name is Giselle Del Rio.
And my name is Cosette Sanchez.
And today we will be reciting an excerpt from A Brave and Startling Truth by Maya Angelou. We,
This people on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space.
Past aloof stars across the way of indifferent suns to a destination
Where all signs tell us
it is possible and imperative
that we learn a brave and startling truth.
And when we come to it, to the day of peacemaking,
when we release our fingers from fist of hostility,
when the curtains fall on the minstrel show of hate, and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when the rapacious storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples has ceased.
When we let the rifles fall from our shoulders,
and children dress their dolls in flags of truce,
and landmines of death have been removed,
and the aged can walk into evenings of peace, when childhood dreams are not kicked awake
by nightmares of abuse,
then we will confess that not the pyramids with their stones set in mysterious perfection,
nor the gardens of Babylon hanging as eternal beauty,
in our collective memory,
not the Grand Canyon kindled into delicious color by western sunsets.
We,
this people on a small and drifting planet,
whose hands can strike with such abandon,
that in a twinkling life is sapped from the living.
Yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness.
We,
this people on this wayward floating body,
created on this earth,
of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where
every man
and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear.
Gorman High School. Good.
My name is Nick Smith, and I'm here to tell you a story about Maya Angelou. Ladies and gentlemen, we're welcoming to our stage at the Purple Onion, Miss Calypso herself, Maya Angelou! And the crowds went wild because a 6-foot-tall dancer came out onto the stage and began singing to them. Now, she'd been a dancer for many years, almost as long as she'd been a poet. She'd been a singer. She'd toured Europe with Porgy and Bess. But here, she was singing calypso music. Calypso had only been popular in the United States for a short time. It had been around forever, but Harry Belafonte had the best-selling album of all time just the year before, and he introduced smooth, polite calypso so that everybody was listening to it, people who had never listened to it before. Oh, but those were not the songs Maya Angelou sang. She sang the rich, earthy calypso, the kind of calypso songs where an abused wife could kill her husband and laugh about it. The kind where you were running away from the police because they were chasing you because you'd been running a fortune-telling scam. And she sang those songs too. She sang songs that were never written as calypso songs. Nat King Cole, Louis Jordan jazz pieces. But she turned them into calypso with her voice and her dancing and her body. She was calypso music to the audience in the Purple Onion. And oh, they lived that music because that's music where you have to move. Your heart is beating. Your feet are stomping. It's music where if you're out in the open listening to it, you will dance. And she was 6 feet tall, there in front of them singing to that audience in her rich voice. But the funny thing was, music, the singing, that was not her first love. It was not her first art. She had only a limited amount of training. And one of the audience members that came to know her, Billie Holiday herself, told her, "Oh, you're going to be famous someday, but not for singing." And after the one album, after the Miss Calypso album, she turned away from the singing. She turned away from the dancing and toward the words. Oh, those words were what she became famous for when she began to speak and to write and to take those words and turn them into something that would tear out the hearts of the hardest man. That's what she was famous for. So even if she never recorded another album, even if she never played another nightclub after those couple of years of doing that, her words, those were what sang and danced forever.
Good evening. My name is Kalina Jenkins-Gittens, and I'm representing NAACP AXO Pasadena branch. I'll be reciting a poem entitled Maya. Bill Clinton once said, "She was always calling our attention to things. She was certainly a phenomenal woman, and to me, she always rose above the rest when she spoke. She inspired me to express myself through my own words and through my own feelings. Maya Angelou, a warrior for equality, a strong stand for education, a hardworking mother, a bold public speaker. Oh, what an amazing woman, an amazing poet. I've always wanted to bask in the rays of your wisdom and radiate my knowledge onto paper. You are still influential to many. Yet, while you, in an angelic state, still proving that women do, like the dust, rise. Rise above negativity. Rise above ignorance. Rise above any obstacle. Rise above the pains of the past. Like a phoenix, tested by fire, rising from the ashes. No longer helpless, caged birds, but free to soar like majestic eagles. Thank you, Miss Angelou, for being such a blessing."
Hi, my name is Samantha Herrera, and I have a poem inspired by Maya Angelou entitled Dreamers. In a world that's filled with anger, AK-47s, and bad people, I refuse to be another stereotype. I refuse to be another stick in the mud, another sob story. I don't believe in being sad for a living. You see, I was born a dreamer. A bundle of hope wrapped in positivity. I gave all I had to offer, loose change to those who really needed it, with over 1,000 smiles to donate. When I looked at the world, I closed my eyes, and I saw with my heart. Buildings were so... Sorry.
Go ahead.
Buildings were so close to the sky that you can lasso the moon closer to our hearts. We always needed something to brighten up the darkness, the love to follow us. I dreamt of endless possibilities. Life has so much to offer. We just need to open up our availability and let beautiful things fall into place. We need to get up. We need to get out of bed.
Go ahead.
We need to get out of bed with purpose, with hope, instead of dreading the thought of leaving the comfort of warm blankets. It's so easy to become lost in a world obsessed with supply and demand. Consumer goods have become more important than loving each other, more important than loving ourselves. We have misplaced our priorities. People have become wanderers, searching for something that's worth finding, feeling like we have no home, no place to call our own. With life having the capability of being a hellhole, people wonder how anyone can make it out alive, how it's possible to keep sanity in the midst of crazy, and the only thing I had to survive was a compass in the shape of a pen and notebook pages. They guided me, led me to where I needed to be. No storm could ever keep me lost. My North Star was the tip of a ballpoint pen. No matter how far I was gone, drifted at sea, desert stranded, brought me back home. Constellations held me and reminded me of who I was. I wrote about celestial bodies that were used as similes and metaphors. I wrote about each and every grain of sand because I believe that everything and everyone is significant. I wanted to make the world happy. Keep it on its way, spinning on its axis with a grin that made the sun jealous because it looks so bright. Poetry has turned my life around. Poetry has turned my life around and upside down. It kept me grounded, anchored to the earth's core, happy. And I've shared stories on different stages, and I've learned how to pay it forward, changing the world with one stanza at a time. So instead of anger, AK-47s, and bad people, there are more happy souls, poetry books with every page filled, and more dreamers, something that the world is so desperately in need of.
Fantastic.
Hello, my name is Amanda Gorman. I'm a 10th grade student, writer, and activist, and I'm also an LA Youth Poet Ambassador. Today I'm reading a poem entitled Close Your Eyes, Sweet Queen of the Risen. From a young age, my lips learned the bittersweet honey of language. Its heavy, rich significance left thirsty from the R's that would drip from my lips, more sagging than day-old eggs. I taught myself not to indulge in correct pronunciation, but in honeycombs of literature. The pale, yellowing pages of forgotten books, the dance, ink, and paper embark on in a tango of penmanship, the forbidden and addictive romance between the pen and my fingers. At 5, I saw power lapped up by cheeks of white and lips of pale pink, but me, in my blackness, found solace in the ebony blood of my pen against the cool flesh of my journal. But when puberty's lush velvet curtains withdrew, leaving me exposed center stage with 2 freshly cultivated flutes on my chest, my voice was no longer cute. Curiosity and bewilderment perspired on people's tongues, moist with the question, "Where are you from?" Like a cane, I bent to the expectations, responding that my tongue's odd choreography was from Africa or New York or the UK. Wrapping myself in shawls of different assumed nationalities to bandage my bleeding R's was my diagnosis, and Maya Angelou was my medicine. When I thought I was an alien, abandoned here from my true relatives because of my body stiff as a ruler and my figure thin as a sheet of math homework and my R's that would be birthed on my lips only to die a death too soon, Maya Angelou told me, nothing that is human can be alien to me. I forgot all of what she said, everything she did, but I will never forget how she made me feel. Like, although people asked me to repeat words 3 times, she understood me. Just as she thought Shakespeare knew how it felt to be molested, she knew how it felt to be a black girl in LA carrying a book bag and a speech impediment. When my feet trekked over the black spotted sidewalk spangled with limp trash and the corpses of my forgotten dreams, Maya told me, if a human being dares to dream a great dream, dares to be Martin Luther King, so can you. Keep going, Amanda. Keep writing, Amanda. Go, go. Voice is not a predefined definition of correctness of language, but your own self-defined dignity resonating in your actions. Voice is becoming mute from rape, but becoming the best teacher in the world. Voice is finding it after it's lost. Amanda, drop your R's, but do not drop your volume. Do not follow the laws of science. Stay in motion and never let the forces cause you to rest. Maya, now that God has another angel, close your eyes in peace. But I will not lay you to rest. I will lay you to rise. Still you rise so your voice won't quiet over the test of time and death, but rise and live on inside of me.
Oh.
All right.
That's great.
Oh, you better bring it.
Tiny Red, part of A. Philip Randolph, the Los Angeles chapter. Dr. Angelou. A poet speaks of the darkness to shed light for me and you. This is dedicated to Dr. Maya Angelou. A queen has transitioned. We still have Sonia Sanchez and Alice Walker. She was eloquent and articulate, a speaker, not a talker. She was a worker who transcended class. Yet she was gentle, like she had a heart of glass. Her real life experiences is what made her wise. We shed a tear when she persevered and said, and still I rise. A poet speaks of the darkness that sheds light, and all it brings. It was you, phenomenal woman, that reveal to us why the caged bird sings.
That's his name.
My name is Colin Turner. I'm a senior at Youth Opportunities High School, and I'm one of LA Youth Poet Ambassadors. And I'll be doing a poem inspired by the quote by Maya Angelou. She said, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." And this poem is entitled Yesterday I Was 12. So my 18th birthday just passed. And I began to reflect on the past, how life moves so fast. Because yesterday I was 12. Yeah, I remember. Puberty was at its beginning stage. A couple hairs was growing, a couple muscles was showing. You know, it was yesterday. I was coming home from watching Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins, and I got a call from my mom saying your grandma wasn't doing too fine. It was yesterday when it had been 2 years since I seen my dad, and all I wanted was a phone call. It was yesterday when the doctors walked in and said, "We have a diagnosis for your son." It was yesterday when my money was low as my pants, so I did what I thought was a man, because yesterday I seen my best friend take his last breath. It was yesterday when my mom was home, but her mind wasn't home. It was yesterday when, as a preteen, a teacher crushed my dreams. It was yesterday when I thought I could drink the pain away, but I found the pain never went away. In fact, it stayed. So yesterday, I began to cut my wrist with a blade, and that same blade was being held by the devil's hands. You see, yesterday, I was only 12 when, along with my grandma, my hopes, my dreams died. I cried and cried. I was only 12 when all I wanted was my dad to call. I wondered, did he want to be bothered at all? Like, did he hate me? Did he wish that he never made me? I was only 12 when the doctor said I had ADHD. They tried to fix me with this little pink thing. They tried to kill my raw zeal robot they tried to build. I was only 12 when my first drug sale was to a girl with a life forming inside of her, but this other side of her had that life deforming. I was only 12 when I see my best friend take his last breath. He was right next to me, so an angel must have been next to me, because I should have died that day. I was only 24 inches away. I was only 12 when all I wanted was love, but my mom was too busy grieving in the club. I was only 12 when the teacher told me you would never make it past 17. I was only 12 when Hennessy became my remedy. The devil tried to steal my soul. Suicide was heavy on my mind. Yesterday I was 12 and my mind was idle, but today I picked up a Bible and it told me to hold on and stay strong, because yesterday I was 12, but today I'm 18.
My name is Julia Horwitz, and I'm part of the LA Youth Poet Ambassadors. And my first poem is going to be a poem entitled Maya, and it's a tribute to Maya Angelou. Maya, you don't need to repeat that you will rise, because it's plain to see. For anyone who yawns, stretches their arms, looks out of that window and sees light pour over the night before. Light that has only ever lived in a few places, 2 of them, being the corners of your smile, one of them being the tip of your tongue. When it finally moved, after 6 summers of silence, moved, mountains in masses with maple syrup words. Sweet, but not so quick to slide off of your skin, sticking to our hands' heartbeats when we need to remember that under all of this, our bones look the same. Our bones hold the same brilliant capacity for love, which you taught me looks a lot more like forgiveness. Maya, you are proof that forgiveness can turn any 5-finger shackled past into luminous future flowing over everyone touched by you. And you continue to flow in the teeth and the skin of all that you taught to grow up by your light. Your light that rises each morning, carbonating our courage and needs no description. All right. And next I'm going to be reciting a poem by Maya Angelou herself, and the poem Touched by an Angel. All right. We, unaccustomed to courage, exiles from delight, live in coiled shells of loneliness, until love leaves its high holy temple and comes into our sight to liberate us into life. Love arrives, and in its train come ecstasies, old memories of pleasure, ancient histories of pain. Yet if we are bold, Love strikes away the chains of fear from our souls. We are weaned from our timidity in the flesh of love's light. We dare be brave. And suddenly we see that love costs all that we are and all that we will ever be. But yet, it is only love that sets us free. Thank you.
Hey, a special moment at K-Gym. All these beautiful people showed up to say what? Maya, you're still in the air. Maya, we still feel your heartbeat. And you left us with tons of written words with power behind each word as they lift off from the pages from black and white. I thought of the timeline. What timeline? Remember Clive in Nevada talking about cattle and Negroes and Negroes? And then we had the episode of Donald Sterling. The folks on my plantation ain't happy. And then we had a shooting in a school. Which school? The count says 75 shootings in schools. NRA, not responsible again? Shame on them. But Maya suddenly said, I'm out of here. Because the mighty hand reached down because it was so dark. It was so dark. Clive Davis making his statements in Nevada. Donald Sterling's story of his plantations with Clipper logos across the chest. And the 75 shootings that go on and on. We needed to hear something. We need to hear some words of love. We need to hear some words of inspiration. And we heard it. Still I rise, but I'm out of here. But Maya, we know you're still out there.